everyone, welcome to Eden's Secret. Today I'm going to be making some wax melts, and during the process I'm going to be answering quite a lot of your wax melt questions which were asked on my YouTube channel community tab. If I don't answer your questions today, if you left a question on that community tab and I haven't answered it today, it's because I'm going to do it in a later video. I'll be answering those questions while I make some soy wax melt snap bars from start to finish. Melting the wax, adding the colours, adding the fragrances, preparing the wax, setting the wax, freezing the wax, and unmoulding and packaging. Stick around to get all the answers you need to make perfect wax melts. So here we are with one of my absolutely favourite smells that I've carried since the beginning. So it's coming to that time of year now when people are starting to order the autumn and winter fragrances, and none of my autumns are ever complete without the stunning Autumn Magic from Nature's Garden. I absolutely love this smell, and if anyone has ever used Estee Lauder's Cinnabar perfume, an 80s classic I might add, you will absolutely love this fragrance. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it has to be orange, doesn't it, this one? So I am using a candle dye rather than a mica, but I'm going to put a little bit of gold mica in there as well. So we're going to use some of Mineral Makeup Ingredients Super Light Gold today. Just a teeny weeny bit. I just want to give this mix a little bit of glitter, a little bit of sparkle, but I want them to be orange. So let's just mix that in. I've just given it a little sparkle so that when you melt the wax melts, you do get a little bit of bling in there. Everybody loves a bit of bling, don't they? So we're just going to check the temperature here. I was going to say we're looking for about 75 degrees Celsius, and that is exactly what we've got. So I'm going to mix the fragrance in now. So we've got 800 mils of wax in there, and at 10% that means we need 80 mils of fragrance. Gone over just a tad. So all you need to do is just take a pipette and suck some out. I had a question this morning about safety assessments. You don't need safety assessments for wax melts, so there's no need to pay like an upfront fee or anything if you're going to make wax melts. But anything that you're going to put on the skin that's considered a cosmetic, so soap, makeup, shampoo, bath bombs, anything at all that touches the skin, you must have a safety assessment for that. And safety assessments start at around £200. We're talking soap and bath bombs here. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but I just wanted to answer that question in case anybody asks. So another tip is make sure you warm your Pyrex jugs up well if you're using Pyrex jugs. It stops, if you put hot wax into a cold container, the wax is going to solidify where it touches the anything cold, and you don't want that. So that's why mine isn't sticking to the side and solidifying, because I've actually got, I've warmed those Pyrex jugs up really well, actually for a minute and a half. I put both of them in the microwave for a minute and a half. Just be careful not to overheat, but a minute and a half is fine. So just do it on 30-second increments. So we've got a stunning colour going there with a little bit of gold glitter in. And the temperature is now 68. I'm going to let that cool down to around between 60 and 65 degrees, and then they'll be ready to pour. Now in the meantime, I've got another container going, because we're also going to be making some Dior Homme, my favourite aftershave of all time, Dior Homme wax melts. Dior Homme is just a sexy aftershave. It's definitely unisex, and it's not, I'm not into those oceany, overpowering back of the throat aftershaves. This is absolutely stunning, and you will absolutely adore it if you buy it. And the colour we're going with today is Electric Blue from You Make It Up. It's really gorgeous, vibrant blue, which is actually really fashionable at the moment. Well, it has been for a few years. So I'm just going to use the whisk that was in the Autumn Magic. And we're going to give that a stir in. And then we're going to pop the fragrance in again. And I've got 800 mils of candle wax here. I'm saying mils because that's what the measurement is on the side of the container. So we need 80 grams of fragrance, 80 mils of fragrance, shall I say. And it's just sexy and sumptuous. Very warm, just gorgeous, especially on warm skin. Obviously this isn't for skin use, what we're doing here. The fragrance is for skin use, but these are wax melts, so they're going to go into a wax melt burner. So give that a stir in. You want to leave it to sit for at least a minute, so that all the molecules in the wax can absorb all that fragrance into it. So another tip I've got for you, quite a few people ask me about how do you get rid of the smell on the silicone moulds. Actually I can't. All I can smell here is British chips, because that was the last wax melt I made. British chips, I've named it that because that is what the smell reminds me of. In the States or elsewhere you might call them fries, we call them chips. We call chips crisps, and these absolutely smell. This fragrance that I did last time just reminds me of the chippy, but it is very pleasant. So if you love the smell of chips, try the British chips wax melts. It's really deep and luscious. Gorgeous colour. I wish I'd ordered some, but I guess it doesn't matter because I've been given a good size sample here. This will last me quite some time. So we're now at 60 degrees on the wax. I've just topped it up because I had a little bit of wax left over and I thought, why not just use it up? Obviously I've put the extra fragrance in as well to make sure the wax melts the fragrance correctly. Wow, what have I learnt in a year and a half of making wax melts? Well, I guess the most important thing is the wax. Depending which type of wax you buy will have a huge impact on how good your wax melts turn out. But I think a lot of waxes are pretty good. They just all have different things that you need to do to them to make them perform well. And I'm using Eco Soy Melt wax here today, and it definitely likes to be moulded in very warm silicone moulds. The fragrance is good to add at around 75 and pour in at about 60. Leave them for a couple of hours to set up in your mould and then put them in the freezer for at least half an hour, no more than 45 minutes. And then you unmould them when they're nice and hard and firm, and that'll give you your cleanest unmould. Now, saying that, every wax melt won't come out unmoulded perfectly. Now, another great tip that I've learnt in the past year is to get your moulds clean, you want to soak them in hot soapy water. What I tend to do is I'll make wax melts all day and then I'm reusing the wax, the silicone moulds, and then at the end of the day I'll soak them in hot soapy water, and I use a bottle brush to scrub them out. Now, I do have a video for this, so if you click the information card in the top right hand corner, that video will be there for you. So some of the best waxes that are out there around the world. Here I love obviously Eco Soy wax, but Golden Wax has a really good scent throw, although it is notorious for frosting. Parasoy is great, American Soy Organics, Candle Wax. Cure them for 2 weeks. That's what everyone seems to recommend is a good length of time to cure your wax melts. Apparently you get a better scent throw if you cure them. How do you choose fragrances? Well, I'm afraid it's just a case of trying them and then seeing which ones you like, seeing which ones have the best scent throw. Some fragrances don't have such a good scent throw. Now, a fantastic tip I can give you is I've been trying out essential oils in wax, and the first burn is pretty good with an essential oil, but after that you're not getting much fragrance out of your wax at all. With a fragrance oil wax, and I mean by using fragrance oil to scent your wax, you can get multiple melts out of each burn. So I've found I can get at least 5 burns if I put some wax in an oil burner and I let that burn all day, 8 hours with an 8-hour tea light. I can burn it again tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day at least. So fragrance oils are definitely better value for money, and I actually prefer them. There aren't that many essential oils that smell great, but that's my personal preference. Everybody's different. A lot of people prefer essential oils. Where do we find the snap bar molds? Well, I get those from siliconemolds.com. Again, I'll put a link to the website in the description box below the video. Okay, Chrissy H asked, when using wax 494, how long should you set it before going into the freezer to set? What I actually do is I just let my melts set. This obviously isn't 494, but I think it would be very similar for all wax melts, all the different waxes that you're using, if you need to put the wax in the freezer to one mould. So these have been setting up for an hour. The thing is you're going to need to pick up the wax melts in the mould before you put them in the freezer. So if they're not set at all, when you pick them up, it's going to really disturb, they're going to move, it's going to disturb the wax in the mould. So I actually let them set up more or less fully. So I'll let them set for an hour, and then I just, because I've got multiple wax melts here, I'll just pile them all one on top of the other like this. So there's going to be 7 trays of wax melts going into my freezer, and then the more you put in, the longer it's going to take for them to cool properly. So I might leave these in for 45 minutes, but you're talking leaving them in the freezer. I know I discuss this on every single video, but I think like 20 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on how many you've got. Don't leave them in too long, because what happens then is they get that cold, they're trying to freeze, and so what happens when you freeze things is they expand, and so then you'll get them, they'll crack. So these are going in the freezer now. They've been setting up for an hour. I suggest that's how long you leave them to set before you put them in the freezer. What you want to do is make sure you set the timer. So you can see I've got mine on 20 minutes. That must have been for another lot. But these ones I'm actually going to do 45 minutes because there's so many of them. So don't go away and forget about them. Set your timer, keep your phone next to you, obviously. If you do over freeze them, let them defrost and you will be able to remelt and re-pour them. But what you mustn't do is overheat the wax, because it'll ruin the fragrance. It won't do the wax much good either. It can burn the wax if you overheat it. So just melt it in a double boiler and then you can re-pour. So it's no great loss. It's not like soap, where if you make a mistake you haven't got much leeway either way. So let's start the timer and come back when the alarm's going off. Bashful Ducky asked, do you determine the cost of wax melts by size or weight? And does it depend on how much decoration you put on it? Yes, I determine the cost of everything by weight. So, if I pay £5 for 1 kilo of wax, so 1 kilo is 1000, and my wax snap bars are actually 60 grams of each, but 10% of that is actually fragrance. So 6 grams of the bar is fragrance and 54 grams of the bar is wax. So if I want to determine just the cost of the wax, I would put in 1 kilo and I would divide that actually by 54, because it's 54 grams. I'm going to be able to make 18.5 bars out of that, but we'll just call it 18. So £5, because it was £5 for a kilo, divided by 18 equals the cost of the actual, just the wax, is 27 pence. Sounds cheap, but the most expensive part is your fragrance oil. So you'll need to work out your fragrance oil in exactly the same way. If your fragrance oil is £75 a kilo, or if it's £30 for half a kilo, or £25 or £16 for half a kilo or a pound, you just work it out like that. How many times does 6 grams go into whatever the cost of your fragrance oil was? So if you've just got 100 grams of fragrance and the cost of that was, say, £12, I know it's a lot cheaper in the US, but if you're paying £12 for 100 grams, we want to divide 100 grams by 6 grams. So we're going to get 16 wax melts out of 100 grams of fragrance. So the cost of each cost of the fragrance in that bar is, if we're paying £12, we divide that by, was it 16? So the cost of your fragrance in each bar is actually 75p. Obviously fragrance oils are a different price all over the world, so it just depends on what you're getting them for. They are pretty expensive in the UK. So that's how I work it out. So you would add your 75p to your 27p, and that gives you a cost for the wax and the fragrance. But if you're putting glitter in, you need to take that into account. If you're putting embeds on, that needs to be taken into account. Obviously your packaging, whatever the cost of your packaging, and then that'll give you the cost price for each wax melt. So if you're selling them, I would say you need to at least quadruple the price, quadruple the cost price to get your retail price. No good doubling it. Doubling it does not make you enough net profit to sustain your business. No way. Because if you just double it, so say my wax melts don't cost me £1.50 to make, but say they did and I was charging £3, it's already cost me £1.50 to make the wax melt. I'm going to make £1.50 profit, but that £1.50 profit is only going to rebuy all the ingredients that I made, so I'm not making anything. My business is just a hobby then. You're just paying for ingredients, and that means you've got no spare money to grow your business in any way whatsoever. If you've got 6 melts and you're just doubling the price, you're only going to ever have 6 melts, because you're not giving yourself any net profit. This is something I'll go into on soap making from scratch when we get to the part where we're actually going to be selling product. But that's going to be a long way off. So make sure you're actually going to be making a profit. Otherwise, you'll never grow your business, and you'll be out of business before you know it. Undercutting everybody else is actually not the way to go. If you're new, you're paying more for your ingredients than I am, so really you should be charging more than I am, because how are you going to make any profit to buy more ingredients or grow your business? Hope that makes sense. Okay, so again, while we're waiting for the alarm to go off, Maria Ocampo asked, do you reckon there is a time when wax melts start to lose their fragrance? Do they expire? Also, have you seen any change of colour in the bars over time? I'm writing from the UK. Well, yes, wax melts will expire, but they will keep for years if packaged correctly, i.e. in plastic. I've got some wax melts I made 9 or 10 years ago, and they still smell great. I'm not saying they smell as strong as they did when I made them, but they're still definitely worth using. And did I notice a change of colour? Yes, they did definitely change colour, but they didn't lose all of their colour. They just faded slightly. So yeah, you'll notice I've got the answers written down here by the side. That's because my brain doesn't work very well anymore, so I've just written some pointers here to remind myself. Sophie Place. Hi, I'm thinking of starting a candle business, and I'm just wondering, do wax melts need a CLP label? If so, what size do you use for yours? Right, CLP labels, yes, if you're in the UK or the EU, you have to put a CLP label on. The great thing with making wax melts is you don't actually need a safety assessment or anything for them, because we're not putting them on our skin. The other thing is the size. It does say that the warning pictograms need to be 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre. Jordan Lomax. Hi, we've been struggling lately with frosting using the 494 soy wax. Yes, 494 is notorious for frosting. It's a nightmare, but it does give a really, really good scent throw. My suggestion to anybody that's struggling with frosting on 494 is to add a bit of paraffin wax, say 10% to it. This will harden the bar up a little bit, and you might not get as much frosting, plus the unmoulding will be sharper. Sadif Shah. Hi Karen, which company is best for fragrances and low cost? Thank you for making these videos. I'm still struggling to make a hard bath bomb. Okay, so we're talking about wax melts today. If you're in the USA, I think you can't beat Nature's Garden. They're affordable. For £1/2, which is for a pound, which is half a kilo of fragrance, you're talking $16, which is actually only £10. In the UK, for half a kilo, we're paying around £30 to £40. So I have to say Nature's Garden. I know Brambleberry do great fragrances and other companies as well, but I've used Nature's Garden the most, and I can highly recommend them. If you're in the UK, we're talking about affordable fragrances here, so I think Supplies for Candles is a great one. If you're in Australia, Eroma.com, E-R-O-M-A, are in Australia, And if you're in Canada and you want to get hold of Nature's Garden fragrances, Island Escape in Canada, islandescape.ca, they sell Nature's Garden fragrances as well as other fragrances. There's a mountain of fragrance suppliers now. We have loads of great fragrance suppliers in this country, but we're talking about affordable. If they're cheap, don't bother with them. Really, it's not worth wasting your money. Hi Miss Karen from Arancy Lock. Hi Miss Karen, my wax melts look dimply on the back every once in a while. Is it because I could be pouring too hot or that my room is too cold? Thank you, from Sarah in KY, which I think is Kentucky. I'm thinking it's probably that you haven't mixed your wax and your fragrance oil together for long enough, because I've had this. And so the wax molecules haven't absorbed all of the fragrance molecules. So instead of mixing in with the molecules, the fragrance oil is separated and it's sitting on the top, so it makes like a crater type effect on there. So that's what I think's wrong. But it could, I'm not sure that where you've written because I could be pouring too hot or that your room's too cold. 66 Fahrenheit sounds absolutely fine to me for temperature of a room. But it could be that. I'm only saying that because I actually don't know if that's one of the reasons. If anybody's watching, please let Arancy know if that could be an issue. Mark Heisman, hey Karen, hope you're well. I looked on the website that you get your labels from, but what size is it that you use and do they print them for you? I get all my labels from Online Labels. I actually buy A4 labels and then I print onto them, I foil onto them, and then I cut them out to the correct size. So I would say your label for these wax melt snap bars needs to be about 5 inches by 4 inches or just a little bit less. And I do actually have a video where I show you how exactly I make my wax melt labels. There's an information card in the top right hand corner right now, and if you check that, the video is there for you to check it out. Chris Bray, I'm pouring my wax at 60 degrees and still getting slight frosting, mainly on the front corners. Do I just need to pour at a cooler temperature? Also, how often do you clean your moulds and how do you do it? Thanks for the great content. Well, we just mentioned this before. Try just adding 10% paraffin wax. How often do I wash my moulds? Well, I wash them every single day, but if I'm making multiple different wax melts in one day, I'll just keep reusing them without washing them. I'll make a certain fragrance and then I'll unmold them cleanly, and then I'll just melt some more wax and I'll just redo that for however many I'm making a day. I don't tend to make hundreds in a day. I might make 3 or 4 different fragrances or 6 different fragrances in a day. And then again, I've got a video on how I wash the silicone moulds, so that is in an information card in the top right hand corner. Now we've actually got quite a few questions here, and I can't go through every single one today, but I will do another video and try to cover every single question that we got, so that you've all got the answers you need to make perfect wax melts. Now, before we go any further, there is one comment I just want to pull out, and I think it's the first one. And it's from Cadio Naturals, Paul Laban. I would like to say thank you very much for sharing with us videos of your great work. I personally learned a lot and inspired. I think you do more than your business. You give us directions, pathway. We're able to earn money and buy food. We're able to live because you are teaching us even though we are strangers. Different age, males, females, different countries, religions, great respect to you. Now, I don't like blow my own trumpet, but when I get a comment like that, it really does remind me of why I'm actually doing this. And it is to help people. Obviously, I want to help myself as well, but I don't need to give all this information away. I don't need to give any information away. I don't need to give any secrets away at all. So all of that side of it, I am doing for you. And it is so that you can earn some extra cash by working from home. And you can grow that business into something massive if you want to. Or like me, just potter on at home, just on your own. I actually like working on my own. It gives me enjoyment. It gives me something to get up for. I know a lot of people with depression that have started creating product and it's totally taken their mind off it. I'm not saying it's any cure for anything like that, but having something to live for, something to get up for, something to look forward to, something to do will take your mind off how miserable you might be feeling. And you never know, it might make you the happiest person on the planet. So thank you, Cadio, for that gorgeous, gorgeous comment. I'll keep doing videos just for all of you people that have supported me and love watching Eden's Secret. Okay, the alarm's going off. It's time to get those wax melts out of the freezer. Haven't they turned out a lovely colour? Literally like sky blue. And it's almost like the sky because it's like it's got little paler colours of the mica in there. And when you mix a mica into wax, some of it sinks to the bottom, so when we turn these out, they might be darker on the other side than they are on this side. And that actually brings me to another question that someone had, and that is, what do I like to colour my wax melts with? Well, my favourite absolutely is mica. And the reason I like mica is because, we've got frosting today. The reason I like mica is because it gives a gorgeous pearlescent look to the wax when it's melted. So a question that someone asked is the wax melt still okay to use if it's got frosting? Absolutely, yes it is. I don't know why I've got frosting today, because I definitely poured at 60 degrees. So we've got frosting for some reason. It could be the fragrance, I don't know. So I'm guessing they're all going to have frosting. But I will be selling these as usual. So Kelly W asked, hey Karen, what's the best wax for melts and candles? And do certain waxes have a better scent throw? Yes, they do have better scent throws. Depending on where you are in the world, there are so many different types of wax that I can't comment on them all because I haven't had them all. But apparently, if you look online, the best type of wax for giving a good scent throw is paraffin wax, and the reason being that soy wax is denser than paraffin wax, which actually surprises me. That's what it says online. That one looks interesting. You can see where the mica really has settled on the bottom. So we've got a darker blue in there, but this is just one of the sample pieces. So let's now unmold some of those gorgeous Autumn Magic wax melts. And a Babytail Portrait asked me, what's your favourite pumpkin, cinnamon, plum, fall fragrance oils? I was actually surprised when I wrote the answer down for these, because all of my favourite fall scents actually come from Nature's Garden. So if you're in the US, you can buy Nature's Garden fragrance oils direct. If you're in Canada, you can get them from islandescape.ca. If you're in the UK, you can get them from Sell the Smells, which is a Facebook group. Don't forget to tell all these companies that I sent you. I don't get any affiliates or anything for recommending them. I recommend only what I truly believe in. I don't get paid for any of the recommendations on this channel. So my favourite smells are Autumn Magic, which is what I'm doing today. Pumpkin Crunch, I absolutely adore. I also adore Pumpkin Apple Butter. That is wonderful. And Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, because you're asking about a plum fall fragrance. So Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy is a great one as well. So they're actually my favourites. Another person asked, how do I get this Beautiful Sheen on my wax melts? Well, the Beautiful Sheen actually just comes from the wax that I'm using, which is Eco Soy Melt. And as you can see, it does have a lovely, lovely sheen on there. A lot of it is also the overhead lighting in here. I haven't got any like setup lighting. This is just what the lighting's like in this room. I've got 2 strip lights, so it might make my bars look shinier than they actually are, but they actually do have a nice sheen to them. Okay, we'll unmold one more mould so I can get some more questions in. Alyssa Ann asked how to make soy wax melts with a strong hot throw, and what companies in the US, United States, to get fragrance from. Well, I think one of the best waxes you can get in the US is called Pillar of Bliss wax, and again it's from Nature's Garden. So you're laughing really, because I've gone on about Nature's Garden because they are reasonably priced as well. That's the main reason. Decent fragrances with at a decent price. There are so many amazing fragrance suppliers. All of them have good and bad, every single one. So yeah, the good thing with the Pillar of Bliss wax is you can actually get quite a lot of fragrance in there. And I think you can add about 20% fragrance to Pillar of Bliss wax. So that's how you're going to get those really, really, really strong wax melts that you want. Catherine Pommier from Reunion Island asked, do the wax melts need a warning? notice, like candles. Now, I don't know anything about your country. Is it French by any chance? I don't know. Had a look at it on Google Maps and I can see where you are in the world. But because of your name, I don't know why, I'm feeling French. Am I right? I'm probably not right, but if you're under like French laws, then you will need a warning label, a CLP label. But if you're not, you won't. You just need to check government regulations in your country, wherever you are in the world. Now I'm going to see if I can get these samples out in one piece. As you can see, they're a lot shallower than the regular sized bars. And while I'm doing that, Jennifer Williams asked, do you double your fragrance for the wax melts? I'm wondering, do you mean, do I double the fragrance compared to what I put in my soaps? Yes, I definitely put more fragrance into wax melts than I put into soaps. We're only allowed to put 3% fragrance into soaps, more or less, in the UK. And I actually put 10% fragrance into wax melts. And the reason being that wax is not a cosmetic product. It doesn't go onto your skin. You're not specifically using it for the skin, shall we say. So it doesn't need a safety assessment or anything like that. Only cosmetics, which is another question from another viewer, is do you need safety assessments for wax? No, you don't. Because it isn't actually a cosmetic, so that's good. What you will need if you're going to have any form of business, whether it's soaps, candles or whatever, you're going to need insurance, and you're going to need product and public liability insurance. That's something I don't even know if I've ever mentioned before, but you do need insurance if you're going to sell anything to anybody. So just want to mention here that I use 10% fragrance oil for wax, which is 100 grams per kilo. If you're working in pounds, a kilo is round about 2 pounds, and you want about 3.5 ounces of fragrance oil in there. If you don't work on the metric, that'll give you round about a 10% fragrance content. But if you're not in the EU, you might want to put a bit more in there. Okay, it's now time to wrap some wax melts. So we're going to start off with the Autumn Magic, and I'm going to continue answering your questions while I wrap. So there we have the Autumn Magic. We just pop it in the center of the foil like so. Wrap the foil around. You've got to be kind of gentle with the foil because it can tear rather easily. But once it is folded, it tends to stay in place, which is pretty good. I'll just give it all a smooth off, like so. I'm just going to put the foil on all of them like this, and then we'll put the labels on at the end. So Teresa Podraza, thank you Karen for your inspirational videos. They are very informative and fun. I really enjoy your little road trips as well. My question is, how do you select your wax scents? Do you have favourites or do you mix your own? Happy holidays from Whidbey Island, Washington, USA. Now it tells you how long ago it is since this comment was written. It was obviously Christmas time. So hi Teresa. I honestly just go with whatever fragrance takes my fancy. I can be in different moods. I can be in wanting all designer type fragrances, or sweet fragrances, or foodie fragrances. Sometimes floral, but not very often. So I am a sucker for fragrances, I have to tell you. And I can see a fragrance I fancy and think, oh, I think I'm going to love that, so I'll buy a kilo of it. And it's often a very big mistake doing that, because you can buy a fragrance and actually end up not really liking it very much. So I always suggest that you buy a sample and try that sample out in your soap or in your wax or whatever it is that you're going to use to make your fragrances with. I do buy a lot of fragrances that I actually don't like. Some fragrances that I do, and I tend to find the ones that I do like usually discolour or seize or something like that. When I say seize, I'm actually talking about soap. A lot of the people that watch my videos are interested in soap making as well, so it might seem unusual that I'm talking about soap in a wax melt video, but that's why. If you, just in case that this is the first time you've ever been here, that's why I'm talking about soap. Right, now here's a question I get all the time. Ellie Stockton writes, best way to clean the wax molds to stop them going all weird the next time you do another batch. Hope this makes sense. So it's just a case of soaking in hot soapy water, plenty of dish soap in there. Have your water nice and warm or hot and let them soak for a good hour, and then get yourself a bottle brush, and you'll need to scrub those molds out with the bottle brush. This will get most of the excess out of there, but it won't get rid of any smell that is stuck in the silicone. Silicone absorbs fragrance, so it's impossible to get rid of that fragrance in the silicone mold. Pikachu says, where do we get these silicone molds from? Well, guess what? They're from a company called siliconemolds.com, but you can also get them on Amazon. You can also get them on Amazon and eBay, and I'll put a link to them in the description box below the video. Any information that you need, such as equipment, fragrances, colours, wax, etc., I always put that information in my description box. Sometimes I might forget to put something in the description box, so if you just write a comment and say, Karen, you forgot to put the link to the silicone molds, for instance, and I'll go back and I'll put that link in there. I have a feeling I've got two sheets of foil here. So some of the more technical questions that I've had, I won't be answering today, because I'm actually going to do a video and possibly do some demonstrations of some of the questions, the technical questions that you need answers to. So I'm not sure how quick I'll be at getting around to that, because sometimes it can take me quite a while, as you know, if you watch my videos. Haley Staker, S-T-A-K-E-R. Staker, is that right? I've used the 10% fragrance in my recent melts and I've had a difficult time with the scent throw. Is there a specific wax you recommend for melts, or do you think it could be the curing time? If it's a curing time issue, how long do you recommend wax melts cure before use? Now obviously I haven't used every single wax there is out there. I've only used a few, to be honest. The best wax I ever had for scent throw was the Eco Soy that used to be out years ago before it got taken over last year, and seems like the recipes have all been redone. Now that wax was terrible for frosting. It was quite a soft wax, but it had a fantastic scent throw. So I think anybody that's watching, if you're a wax melt maker and you'd like to share your favourite wax and why you think it's good, talking about throw, the scent throw and frosting issues, maybe discuss the unmoulding issues, only if you want to share that. That would be really useful for all of us, including me, because I'd like to know what the best wax is for a good scent throw as well. But my favourite wax at the moment is Eco Soy Melt. It has a good scent throw. It's very good at not having any frosting issues, she says, even though we had frosting issues today. Sounds crazy, but that's the first time I've had frosting issues with this wax. So yeah, please share that information if you're willing to share. And the question about curing wax melts. Apparently curing your wax melts makes the wax give off a better scent throw, and it seems like the time for that is about 2 weeks. Let your wax melts cure for about 2 weeks and they'll have a better scent throw, apparently. I don't actually leave my wax melts for 2 weeks. I've never got time, so mine will just have like a few days curing time. But I actually have seen people do tests, and you can see these tests on YouTube, and each person that did these tests didn't find any difference whether they cured the wax melts for 1 day or they cured them for 2 weeks. There was no difference, and the way they were able to do that is by obviously making the wax melts. But say if you light the wax in your bedroom and then you come in, work away in your kitchen or your soap room or wherever it is, so you just put your wax melt somewhere in a room that you're not actually using throughout the day, and you walk towards that room. As soon as you can smell it, so say you get to a certain bedroom door or a tile on the floor or something like that, make a note that, oh, I could actually smell this wax melt. You must do it with the same smell, mind, same fragrance. It's no good doing it with 2 different fragrances. And then another time, use one that you've allowed to cure for a couple of weeks. Do exactly the same with that. Then walk towards the room that's got the fragrance in it, and again make a note of where you could actually smell it, whether it's a door handle, a tile on the floor, a flower on the wall, a picture you might have hanging up, something like that. And again, I'm just saying this is because of what I've seen. people who are more knowledgeable about wax melts will know more than I do. But you'll find out whether it makes any difference or not. That's the only way I can think of doing it. You know, the other thing that's crazy is on different days our noses have different strengths and powers, and you might not have a very good sense of smell on a morning, but come an afternoon your sense of smell is better. And different people have different strengths, sense of smell as well. Like, I'm not brilliant at picking up certain scent notes, but Declan, my son, he's really good at that. And I can hold a fragrance to him and I'll say, oh, what's in that? And he'll say this, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, actually you're right, it is. So Doreen Smith says, could I provide a supply list for wax melts including colours, glitters, moulds, packaging, labels, etc. I'd also like your review of what you like and do not like to use. You do a great advertisement and info sharing. It is one of the reasons I follow you and subscribe. Thank you. So thanks for that, Doreen. I'd love to compile a list somewhere, but I would need, because my YouTube channel is for people watch from all over the world, and I actually don't know a great deal about anything that you buy from overseas because I'm in the UK. But I wonder if anybody else wants to include themselves in that. We might be able to come up with some sort of fabulous list together. Obviously you're asking me because you value my opinion. So yeah, I mean, I guess it is something we could possibly do. But again, everyone has like personal preference. Everybody's different. What I like, you might not like. Rebecca Payne, did I mention this comment? What is the best type of wax and colorant to use for wax melts? I have a hard time getting a strong scent. I have a hard time getting a strong scent. Any recommendations? Thank you, from Vinton, Virginia, USA. Well, I have a feeling I have said this, but Pillar of Bliss wax in the US is meant to be pretty good, and I'm mentioning the US here because you're in the US, and you can actually add quite a lot of fragrance to that wax as well, and it gives a good scent throw. And being able to add more fragrance means you'll get a stronger wax melt. Something, that's the profile name. Something asked, is there such a thing as an electronic cordless wax melter? Haven't been able to find one online, and it'd work perfectly for my room. Well, something, I've had a look too, and I can't actually find one. So I would suggest a double boiler probably would be a good idea. A double boiler being a pan of water with another pan on top and your wax in there to melt. Again, I'm sorry this is such a long video, but a lot of questions takes a long time to answer thoroughly. Paul Preedy asks, having massive amounts of trouble finding wax anywhere. Can only assume because of the lockdown. Had trouble most of the year. Where do you get your wax from? Right, well, there have been a lot of issues getting wax, and it is because of the lockdown, but actually it's because it's in very high demand. A lot of people were desperate to find a quick and easy, affordable way to make extra money. So the suppliers just couldn't keep up with the demand, or shall I say the manufacturers couldn't keep up with the demand. So that's why I had to actually take my wholesale wax melts off the website, because I can't get enough wax to keep up with that demand, which doesn't bother me really, because it's quite nice just making products for retail rather than wholesale. And have I got any more questions left that I haven't answered? Boop the Snoot, when using wax 494, how long should you set it before going into the freezer? Well, that one's already been answered. Okay, I think I've explained every single question, except for some that I'm going to do a whole video about. So if you didn't get your question answered, it is coming up in a future video. And there we have our two lovely wax melts, Autumn Magic and Dior Homme. And if you're interested in buying these, we've got a link to the website in the description box below the video. And thanks for watching, everyone. Sorry it was a really long video, a lot of questions to answer, so it took a long time, longer than I expected. And I'll be back very soon with another video from Eden's Secret. Bye bye for now.